Okay, we are reading the book The Lasker Method to Improve in Chess, a manual for club players. And we are on chapter 4 that is dedicated to the attack, watching two games, the one game 14, Frank Marshall against M. Heinemann in New York 1942. So Frank Marshall White, he plays e4. Frank Marshall famous because he won the US State Championship, United States Championship. c5, b4. I think this move that obviously we see in 1942 was also used by the Ginger GM. I think he said that he won his grandmaster title thanks to that. Let's see what they say in the book. Even in his later years, Frank Marshall was an irrepressible attacker, venturing gambits to unbalance the game as soon as possible. In the context of this manual, we cannot approve of early hooliganism. We recommend a steady build-up here with knight c3. In fact, in the book there is a chapter dedicated to the opening. They kind of give you an opening repertoire. I will probably show you what they are giving without going into detail because there are tons of variants and I don't really think one can remember them all, but at least it's a guideline. Okay, so b4, c takes b4, a3, d5, starting immediate counterplay in the center, but black can even consider grabbing the pawn with free bishop b takes a3, as this position is flexible and without weak points. Let's see. E takes d5, queen takes d5, knight f3. The Iranian master Shirazi once blundered a rook against Peters at the US Championship with a takes b4. Okay, so you cannot play this move because there is check that also take the rook, okay? So that's the reason why you cannot take it, and you need to develop the knight to f3, which now makes possible the take, okay? Okay, here there are more lines by Shirazi, not that we care really much about it. A takes b4, bishop takes b4, c3, bishop e7, and knight a3. Here black played bishop d7, but maybe this is the move to play, okay? Knight c4. Suddenly white toys with the idea of knight b6. Why? Because if you take, he takes this. Otherwise he has fork three pieces in one blow. Let's see. Knight c6, and here white played knight e3. Look that knight b6 is still possible, and not only, it seems that would have given white some compensation, but probably this line is analyzed with the computers, and obviously in 1942 they didn't have any. So knight e3, queen d6, bishop b5, putting pressure on both the e and a pawns. So a pawn and e pawn. Okay. Knight f6, castle, queen b8, rook b1, castle, d4. And here there is a dubious move that is e4. Probably it was better to take, okay? Bishop takes e6, but it was probably better to play knight e5, it says here. Bishop takes e6, knight e5, queen c7, knight f5. Now we are seeing once more the idea of Lasker that said if you have a majority on one side, you need to start the attack and create an attack with every move, because that would prevent the enemy from reinforcing the area. So let's see if it's true and how does white make it, okay? So after knight f5, here it says, the American master Anthony Santazier, who witnessed this game, stated that at this point the two knights so near to his king made black very nervous. Objectively, he has sufficient defensive potential, but in chess there is always a degree of psychology involved. So bishop d6, bishop f4, bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, and queen d7. A highly critical position. Here Marshall judges that once again there is a substantial plus in force on white's part, operating on black's king side. So here white thinks that he has a material advantage on this side to create a big problem, right? A big attack. So the principle of attack tells us to act, and to act fast. But calculation also plays its role in the decision-making process. So, if you were white at this point, what would you play if you were white? So, here it seems that the correct move was g4. Notice that New in Chess has published a book only about this idea in many different situations. But Marshall played knight takes g7, and of course this is why we play with other human, because probably a computer was able to keep and defend, but a human can't. Okay, let's see what happened. King takes g7, queen h5, this cannot take because it's pinned, h6, c4, rook e8, rook b3, obviously he wants to give a checkmate, rook takes e5, queen takes e5, obviously he needs to move the queen, otherwise it will fall, queen e6, and now he can give a check. You know, Passer gives c check, gives check. Queen g3, king h7, d5 forking, knight takes d5, c takes d5, and bishop takes d5. Now, as a result of this sacrificial attack, black has equal material and very decent control, and Marshall has a reason to regret his adventure. But let's see how it continues, right? Rook e3, queen f6, it's a dubious move, and here it says, but it is still a position that has to be treated with caution, and having survived a typical Marshall attack, black should realize that care is still necessary, even if the fireworks have ceased. So in this case, the author says black should have played a5, which may be in intuitive, but it's very powerful because 1, 2, 3, 4, and it becomes a queen, right? This can be supported, so the counter idea is you play on that side. Instead, black played queen f6, and after queen c7 and rook a8. This is bad in the sense that brings the rook out of the game. The game was to protect the king. These are still not advanced. Why is the rook here, right? Well, because probably you want to do this, but it's kind of little slow, right? Let's see what happens. Rook d1, bishop c6, rook a3, rook g8, rook g3, rook takes g3, h takes g3, and now white has removed the possibility of a back rank checkmate, so that's interesting. e3, which is a mistake, f takes e3, queen e6, queen f4, queen a2, and now he's threatening checkmate. e4, obviously blocking the diagonal. Queen c4, double attack on there. And now there is the loss. Why? Because king h2, f6, and white played queen takes f6, and here he won the game. Here it says careful judgment of the position is and remains the most important aspect of playing chess. Marshall probably judged that he was close to winning when he landed a bomb on g7, the knight f5 to g7. But his superiority in force, though mark, was probably not large enough to guarantee a winning attack. So he might have done better to use the g-pawn. He should have played g4, right? Black could have held the position together, but his nerves had probably suffered from all of this. And this was everything for game 13 in chapter 4 on the attack of this Lasker method to improve in chess, a manual for modern day club players. I hope you will enjoy it.